I just want to thank our staff, starting with Coach Satterfield, all the assistant coaches, my staff in particular, on the high school side, Carter Wilson, our assistant GM, who leads our high school scouting process. I think he's one of the best in the country. He did a tremendous job throughout multiple years on this class. As well, and then from the communication side, Cass Simmons and Ty G. Leach. Everybody that I talked to from the parent side on these prospects, they cannot say enough about Cass Simmons and Ty G. Leach and the work that they do, and the real relationships that extend beyond football that they have. And then Caroline Tart, who leads our on-campus recruiting efforts. That's a tremendous task, especially when we're moving into a new building right at the time that OVs happen. For her to get all that organized and get rolling. Very impressed with the work she did. And then we had 3 full-time interns, Peter Abrams, Brandon Lung, Kyler Kress, and then another one as well, Cohen Hackney. Peter in particular, a rising star in the profession, did a tremendous job, helps with the O-line specifically, and has done that for a number of years. And then we have 40-plus student workers that made this happen that we really couldn't do without them. So recruiting is a full effort. It's not one person, it's not just the coaches, there's a ton of people. So I really thank them for their work. I'm very, very, very excited about this class. This is a tremendous class. I think it's going to be the best one we've had since we've been here. When we set out to build a recruiting class, we want length, growth potential, and explosiveness. And at every position, we check those boxes. And beyond that, we look for guys with productive high school film. This class has that. And the final piece is, all that gets them in the door to meet our head coach. And he needs to be able to look them in the eye and know that they have personal character. And based on what we hear from their high school coaches, the tape, and our interactions with them, we got to make sure they have football character. And I think everybody in the class checks those boxes, and couldn't be more excited. So with that, well, any questions you guys want?
Coach, 6 players from Ohio. Is it starting to feel like there's beginning to be a little bit more momentum for Cincinnati around the state? I know I'm going to consider Springboro, Cincinnati. So you got 2. But is there, can you sense that there's, now that you're in the Big 12 and established, that things are changing a little bit around the state?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you can, look at the amount of commits or signees we get at the end of the class. I think in previous classes we've had players committed here that we couldn't keep. And the goal here is to keep the best players from Cincinnati in Cincinnati. And as we move forward, the pieces in place. Coach Veit did an incredible job in the city this year, building real relationships with the high school coaches. Getting AK from Taft, I think is going to, not only his talent and his personality, he brightens a room, by the way. He's going to help us in the future, and we're going to start building better pipelines there. And I definitely do see the tide changing a little bit in the city. And that's going to be a priority in the 2027 class, which we've already obviously started working on. And absolutely, I do see that getting better.
You got Lance Dawson. I don't know if it came down to the wire or what, but can you describe how crazy today can be when you're waiting on somebody and how that goes back and forth?
Yeah, I mean, Lance certainly did come down to the wire. I think when you get a really good player, it's never going to be easy. And it wasn't easy with any of these guys. Like the timing of it may have been more down to the wire, but we battled a lot of big programs with guys taking some other official visits either before or after they did with us, and we won a lot of these battles, way more so than we have in the past, which was one of our goals heading into our official visit season and the new facilities to credit for that. When we get these guys on an official visit, who are we getting who took official visits elsewhere? And in this class, our hit rate of those guys was significantly higher. And at Lance in particular, I mean, that went deep into the night. I didn't get much sleep. Coach Stu, Coach Sat, Cass, Ty G. It is what it is. I mean, that's what it takes to get a really good player. And we woke up in the morning and we didn't know if we'd have him or not. And obviously, we were able to circle the wagons. And a large credit to Coach Stu and Coach Veit too, with his connections at Avon, making sure that we got to the right people when we needed to and kind of harness that. And I'll say this about Lance too. I know he ended. As you guys know, I don't really look at rankings much, but I know he ended as our highest rated commit, but when we offered him, I don't even think he had a page. And then when Well, it's certainly not the first time he visited. When we offered him, I don't think he did. By the time he did, a bunch of other schools liked him. But that's the value of Carter Wilson. When we evaluate that player and can tell him exactly what he needs to do to get an offer, that comes true when he gets the offer. And then he's able to establish that trust with us, and we're before every other team. And we love Lance for Lance, not because he got ranked high. And he earned that because of an incredible senior season, and we're happy for him to have the ranking, and obviously happy to have him.
AK is a great name for a linebacker, by the way. I just wanted to bring that up. Brooks Goodman looks like he has great film, complete QB, running and throwing. What made him stand out to the other quarterback prospects that you were looking at?
Yeah, of course. First of all, when we're going through the quarterback evaluations, we need a guy that can throw and run. So that eliminates a segment of both, right? And then you kind of narrow it down, and what we look for, watching all the game tape, what separates a quarterback is their decision-making and their ability to be accurate with the football. And he showed both of those at a high level. And then, he showed the toughness we look for in the way he played the game. That's before we even met him. And when you meet him, he had the right mentality to be a quarterback, which is important for us, and it's huge. And we felt like, like Coach Satt said, he's going to come in here. He already knows the playbook. He's going to have his jaw set, ready to make any impact he possibly can for the football team.
Zach, when you look down at this offensive line class, you see 6'3" or higher just about. Obviously, size is a premium there in the trenches. Talk about that a little bit. Solomon Mathis is a guy who stands out. Adam Hones had a great career as well. What do those two guys bring to the table up front in the trenches?
Yeah, we're fired up about the O-line class as a whole, first of all. Start with Solomon. He has freakish traits and potential. I think we're his first offer back in his junior year, and I remember that phone call. He went nuts on the phone to Coach Cardwell. But you look at the wingspan, how broad he is, his long arms, his growth potential, and then the raw explosiveness and ability to move people at the point of attack. There's a lot he's going to have to grow and work to as a technician at the position, which we obviously put trust in one of the best O-line coaches in the country to make that happen. And then Austin Hone, we discovered him a little later in the spring relative to some other guys, but his tape really stood out. And when you're sitting there with other options of guys who'd already had offers out to and been recruiting, and then all of a sudden his tape pops up, I was like, oh no, he's a priority. Just his feet, his ability to get into power angles, both as a positional blocker and using his power and leverage. Austin has a great future. And we mention size all the time. This class has all the growth potential we're looking for. The smallest listed guy is Nathan Zappatelli, and he had some of the best film I have seen at offensive line this season as a senior. And he was doing it with an injured shoulder, which is incredible. I cannot say enough about his tape, and we watched him against Glenville late in the season, and he was quite frankly dominating and against real players. And I think I just can't say enough about his tape, honestly. Like, I could go on and on about the production from the O-line position that he had throughout the season, especially being injured but doing it.
When you guys are going through the evaluation process of these high school kids, how much do you look at fit within the scheme versus just recruiting quote-unquote football players?
At the offensive line position?
Just overall.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, it starts with the scheme. It's a little bit of a sliding scale. You guys understand by now we run a pretty unique scheme on defense, and it's my job to make sure we're getting the right kind of players to fit that so we have success. And as we learn and grow into that over time, it's become pretty obvious that we need to be big everywhere. And that's really, as you're growing it through the high school ranks, this class started that. But in general, too, you want the best football players, and the coaches we have can fit those guys to their schematic advantage. And so it's a little bit of a sliding scale, but I'm really happy with the work we did both within the scheme and just getting really good football players that will figure it out. For example, Keegan Horn from Hueytown down in Birmingham, he actually came to the first game of the 2024 season, and we offered him. But he has some position flexibility. He's playing on the edge now. We see him starting out as a Mike linebacker. And for us to create chaos and havoc on defense, the Mike linebacker's got to go out there and get a bunch of sacks like Jared Bartlett did. And we really believe that Keegan's going to be able to grow into that role. But he's just a really good football player. He may end up being 270 pounds and playing Leo for us. It remains to be seen based on what Nico does to him when he gets here. So that's kind of a case of taking a really good football player.
We hear a lot about wrestling as a second sport. Boxing is kind of a new one. How do you watch a boxing tape and kind of relate that to football?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm a professional boxing tape watcher by any means, so I
You
just
weren't a Gold
knew
Glove guy?
I knew the fact that Jaden was an incredible boxer. And I don't know if there's a sport that can speak to someone's toughness more than that, right? So that really not only checks that box, but it, you circle that thing, right? And I mean, we haven't done any studies on boxing relative to being a football player, but I know Tom Zimikowski back in the day at Notre Dame was a really good boxer. But Jaden, like exactly what you'd expect of a boxer, has the mentality you want to go out there and be violent, physical. But when you meet him, he's a great kid, conscientious, wants to be a leader, and he's coming in early too. And we expect him to come in here with his jaw set, ready to go.
Mike to Scott.
Thanks. All right, nobody likes losing. You're at all the games. I'm sure it's really easy recruiting a kid after a big win, but what's it say for when they stick with you when things are not going so well?
Yeah, what it says about the recruits is that they have bought into what our message is throughout the course of time. Like these relationships extend, a year plus for a lot of the kids. And we always tell these guys, we're pretty much an open book. Like you're gonna get when you're here exactly what you've gotten when you were being recruited. There's no fake sales pitch. And so if they're buying into the real of who we are, when you go through ups and downs, we're still steady, we're still recruiting them. And the message, you have the chance to come in here and make this better. And if you have a bunch of guys that believe that they can do that, that shows that they have the right mentality. I think recruiting is more about identification, evaluation, relationship building than just kind of sitting back and trusting that winning is going to get it done for you. Obviously, over time, as we continue to win more and more, we expect recruiting to elevate in the guys that are open to seeing our pitch. But once we got our hooks in them, it's our job to close it for all those other reasons.
You said this was your best class so far. Do you see the tide turning? I mean, from day one when you came in, are you getting better players year by year?
Absolutely, I think so. And I think this class is going to show it. And moving forward, we can see the types of players that are coming here from the 27 class on campus and our ability to, get around a higher level of player as we're grading them, their willingness to come here. And I do think the new facility plays a huge part in that. It's become normal to us being in it now, but it just opened in June. And you get this next cycle, pretty much every 2027 recruit will be exposed to that facility only in their time of being recruited here, and that plays a huge part of it.
It's hard to forecast what a wide receiver will look like when he's played quarterback in high school like Josh Smith, but is there a comp that you've thought about with him, or what are you expecting from him when he gets on campus?
It's a good question, Keegan. There's not really a comp that I can think of in my head just standing here.
Just say Calvin Johnson and make everyone really happy.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, that's what we hope of him. He sure looks like him, I'll tell you that. Obviously, you can evaluate the quarterback film. They threw the ball with him a lot, so it's not like they were just running him all the time. So that got a little difficult. But, we evaluated the way he played and worked on the basketball court, and then we got to see him in person at camp. And, I don't have a treasure chest or whatever on that one because it could go a bunch of ways, all positive, I think, because he is big, athletic, really smart, works his butt off, has great ball skills. You're going to have to fine-tune some things in releases and the position-specific skills it takes to be successful, but the sky's the limit, and we've told him the ball's in your court to be as good as you want to, and you can look him in the eye and tell he has the right mentality to do that.
Any other questions for Zach?
Scott's got one.
Scott,
Mike to
last
Scott.
one?
Mike to Scott.
Cap it, baby.
All right, the portal opens January 2nd. What's your portal calendar look like now? I know I guess there's no contact right now, but I've heard of back channels and stuff around the country. we'd be naive to think that there's not been contact. How does that work with you guys?
Yeah, so, I mean, when we're looking at the portal period kind of coming up here, the first step is to make sure we get our roster retained in the fashion we want to. So we're working on that, and simultaneously, we're monitoring every single announcement that goes in. Obviously, they can't go in the portal till January 2nd, but they'll put on Twitter that they plan to go in, and we're gonna make sure the evaluation piece of that is perfect, and our coaches are on the right page with us and Jack in the personnel department, that, you know, this is how we're stacking this position group. This is how we like this player. This is how we like this next player at a different level. And, you know, a lot of them have agents, and we're never gonna have contact with a player before they go in the portal. We're gonna information gather at all costs with the agents and try to have the best plan possible so that when they do get in the portal, we're firing at all cylinders and we're ready to roll.
Thanks, Zach.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.